the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark, unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No mic, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune and turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just a vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. In shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just a beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go.
Planck was sitting across from his interviewer in a small and comfortable room. He was in a dark blue suit, with a tie and a white undershirt with the top button undone. His expression was contemplative with hands folded. He spoke with a steady and thoughtful tone. "Thank you. My work was an attempt to shed light on the subatomic world. I believe that the key to understanding the universe lies in the understanding of these tiniest things. The precision and rigor of German scientific language had a significant influence on the development of quantum theory. During that time, scientific discussions were held primarily in German. The language's precision allowed for the clear and unambiguous expression of complex scientific concepts, which was crucial for the development of rigorous theories. Herr Planck spoke for a few moments. He nodded, before continuing. "I think you can credit that with the overall success of the theory, as well as the many German theoretical physicists from the time who contributed to the field." Indeed, I did. It was certainly a challenge conveying the discontinuous nature of certain phenomena through language. Concepts like quantum jumps seemed to defy the usual language used for describing the physical world. The traditional continuous models simply weren't adequate. Herr Planck seemed to pause, recollecting the time in his thoughts, and he spoke yet again. Many scientists of the time, myself included, had to develop new terminology in efforts to describe quantum behaviors, and I suppose even then it sometimes wasn't enough. Certainly, international scientific collaborations became an increasing common element in the scientific process. And, of course, one of the more limiting aspects was the language barrier. Herr Planck smiled slightly. So, naturally, a unified scientific language was desired. At times, we, as physicists, were in desperate need of a common vocabulary and terminology to work as effectively. Max Planck nodded ever so slightly, thinking for a moment on this question. He took a slow breath before speaking once more. "I believe the grammatical structure of the German language had an impact on my approach to physics. The precise and structured nature of German allowed for a more logically driven analysis of physical phenomena." Herr Planck took another breath before continuing. "And perhaps in part it also influenced my methods of problem solving in the more abstract fields of physics. Yes, indeed. As new scientific theories such as quantum physics developed and gained acceptance, the language of science adapted to incorporate and describe them. New terms entered the scientific lexicon, such as spin, wave-particle duality, and uncertainty principle. These terms were created and then adopted as the scientific community grappled with the implications of these ideas and their practical applications. Herr Planck leaned back slightly in his chair, taking on a somewhat reflective and introspective look and demeanor. Metaphors have always had significant influence on the communication of scientific ideas. It proved even more beneficial when attempting to communicate the abstract and counterintuitive world of quantum physics. For instance, the wave-particle duality of light was often compared to a corpse and a ghost, illustrating how light has both wave-like and particle-like properties. Herr Planck smiled a bit, as if remembering the time in his mind. Likewise, the concept of uncertainty principle was compared to the limits of human measurement, likening it to the limits of a blind man reading a newspaper. Certainly, the development of quantum mechanics may have been framed differently if it had been developed in a non-Western linguistic tradition. Each culture, in my opinion, has its own unique way of framing and experiencing the world. For instance, Chinese philosophy has an emphasis on the relationship between the observer and the observed. If quantum mechanics was developed within that cultural framework, perhaps it would incorporate more of an emphasis on the role of the observer within quantum phenomena. Balancing the vagueness of everyday language with the precision of mathematical formalism was and remains a significant challenge in the communication of scientific ideas. Everyday language is inherently imprecise and often lacks the specificity needed to properly communicate scientific concepts. And vice versa, mathematical formalism can often feel abstract and disconnected from the language we use in everyday life. Herr Planck paused, thinking for a moment on the issue. So, a balance must be struck between the two. Terms must be chosen carefully so that they may best communicate precise ideas without losing the underlying intuition. Certainly, linguistic differences could complicate my exchanges with physicists like Bohr or Einstein. Each is quite brilliant, but we all came from different backgrounds. Bohr from Denmark, Einstein from Germany, and I myself as well. Differences in language, culture, and even dialect could create misunderstandings and impede the overall efficiency of collaboration. Herr Planck paused once more. However, we were all dedicated to science. We were determined to make ourselves understood. So, with patience, we found ways to overcome these linguistic barriers. I do believe there is truth to the idea that language molds scientific thought. Language serves as the toolbox that enables us to manipulate and structure our thoughts. And as scientists, we often rely on language to think critically and analytically about the problems we face. At the same time, language shapes our perception of the world and the way we conceptualize it. So it's not surprising that sometimes our understanding of scientific problems are influenced by the very language that we use. Herr Planck spoke with great seriousness and sincerity. The observer effect in quantum mechanics is quite interesting. It refers to the idea that the act of observing a quantum event fundamentally changes the event itself. This is because at the quantum level, particles have fuzzy, uncertain states, and the act of measurement or observation collapses these states into definite values. Now, as for how this relates to the language we use to describe it, language itself is a tool that is limited by its own rules and conventions. It can only describe so much in so much detail. Herr Planck thought for a moment. Existing vocabulary was often inadequate when it came to accurately describing quantum theory. The traditional language we used was simply not equipped to handle the unique and counterintuitive phenomena that quantum mechanics dealt with. So, new terms were necessary. Concepts like quantum states, wave function, and superposition had to be developed to accurately communicate the intricacies of the quantum world. Esperanto and other constructed languages had many proponents in my era. There was a certain appeal to it, to a language that was universal, free of the limitations of any single natural language. However, I do believe that ultimately constructed languages failed to catch on in the scientific community. Natural languages, despite their limitations, were and are simply too deeply ingrained in our culture and thought to be replaced by one artificial tongue. Oh, indeed, many physicists of my era observed similarities between linguistic rules and the patterns of physical laws. It was not uncommon for us to draw parallels between the underlying structures and principles that governed language and matter. After all, we believed that there must be some sort of fundamental order in the universe. And as it turns out, this order is often reflected in both language and the laws of physics. Language can indeed affect our understanding of time in different ways in my quantum framework, as compared to Einstein's relativity. In quantum mechanics, time is seen as a fixed parameter, independent of the observer. In contrast, relativity theory, especially Einstein's special relativity, suggests that time is not absolute and can vary depending on the observer's frame of reference and velocity. Therefore, the language we use to describe time can lead to two different frameworks, each with its own unique implications for our understanding of the universe. Yes, indeed. I often considered whether the limits of naming restricted our grasp of physical reality. The human mind uses language to categorize and understand the world around us, but our language is limited. We have labels and names for everything we perceive. However, there are likely phenomena and aspects of the universe that exist beyond our language. We may not be able to put words to these phenomena because our language, and therefore our understanding, is insufficient. Translating my work into different languages, like English and French, had a significant impact on its global reception. It allowed for a wider and, shall we say, international audience to engage with and appreciate my work. The English language, in particular, was essential in spreading the theories of quantum mechanics to the wider scientific community. The translation process was crucial as it allowed for my work to be understood and appreciated by a broader audience beyond the German-speaking world. Indeed, I did see parallels between the historical development of language and the progression of scientific ideas. Just as language evolves over time, so too do scientific concepts. The transition from classical mechanics to quantum mechanics, for instance, can be compared to the development of language from, let's say, Latin to the modern Romance languages. Both language and science build upon what has come before them, introducing new terms and paradigms to accommodate changing understandings of the world. Language can be quite limited in expressing the true nature of energy as I defined it. While we can certainly use terms and equations to describe energy, such as E equal, language doesn't capture the fullness of its complexities. For instance, energy isn't just the fuel that drives physical processes, but also possesses inherent characteristics such as the wave-particle duality. These aspects of energy can be challenging to express using language alone. Philosophical terms such as determinism and chance played a role in my discussions with Einstein on the subject. Determinism suggests that the universe operates according to precise laws, with everything predictable and inevitable. Chance, on the other hand, implies that some events are purely random and cannot be accurately predicted. These terms allowed us to delve deeper into the nature of reality and the role of prediction in the universe. While Einstein was a determinist, I took a probabilistic view when it comes to quantum theory. Yes, I think we can compare the linguistic diversity among scientists to the multiplicity of quantum states. Just as there are various quantum states in which a particle can exist, there are also myriad linguistic expressions used by scientists from different cultural backgrounds. This diversity of language allows for different perspectives to be considered, much like the multitude of quantum states allow for various expressions of a particle's properties. Silence or the unsaid played a significant role in my reflections on the universe. My time spent in deep contemplation was often silent. It allowed me to clear my mind and focus my thoughts. The unsaid thoughts in my head, the intuition, insights, and ideas that were beyond words, enabled me to approach problems from unique angles. They were vital in formulating my theories. So the unsaid, in many ways, often held as much significance as the words I so carefully chosen to speak. The invention of written language had a profound impact on the scientific advances of my time. Before writing, knowledge was passed down orally, through story and song. Written language allowed for the preservation and accumulation of knowledge. It enabled previous discoveries to be built upon and for new ideas to be shared easily among scientists. It sped up the progress of science as ideas could be recorded, studied, and discussed in detail, rather than being lost or misinterpreted over time. Yes, I do believe that human linguistic capacity sets boundaries on scientific creativity. Language, as powerful as it may be, is a limited tool. There are certain phenomena and concepts in the universe that might not be fully explainable using language, given its inherent limitations. These boundaries, while frustrating at times, also serve to fuel the creative process in science. We must constantly push against our linguistic boundaries to make new discoveries and redefine our understanding of the world. Mathematical equations, in my view, are a distinct form of language. Equations are a concise and precise way to express complex scientific principles. They have the advantage of being largely devoid of ambiguity and are universally applicable. As a physicist, I relied heavily on these equations to describe the behavior of the universe. It is true that equations can be somewhat abstract, but they also offer unparalleled clarity and rigor that language often cannot provide. Language could evolve to describe phenomena beyond sensory experience, like quantum events, by drawing on metaphors and analogies. For instance, the concept of wave-particle duality was developed as a way to make sense of the fact that quantum particles can exhibit both wave-like and particle-like behaviors, even though they cannot be directly perceived. Another example is the use of the term superposition to describe the capacity of a quantum particle state to be in multiple states at once. In this way, language can be stretched and molded to accommodate new, abstract, and potentially unobservable concepts. The name I chose for the Planck constant, h, was influenced by its relation to the energy of a photon of electromagnetic radiation. The Greek letter h is a symbol for this constant, which is essential in expressing the relationship between energy and frequency in quantum mechanics. This choice of name, therefore, highlights the central role of this constant in understanding the behavior of photons and radiation, which forms a crucial part of quantum theory. Yes, absolutely. Knowing multiple languages can uncover new angles in physics. Being multilingual enables scientists to access and engage with a wider range of research and ideas, as they can read and understand writings in different languages. It also allows for an exchange of ideas among scientists who speak different languages. Additionally, some concepts in physics, particularly in quantum theory, can be best understood using the vocabulary of a particular language, highlighting the importance of multilingual skills in the field. When corresponding with colleagues like Lawrence or Rutherford, I tried to ensure that my letters were clear, concise, and precise, especially when conveying complex scientific concepts. Since language can be ambiguous at times, I made a conscious effort to use terms that are universally acknowledged and to explain any specialized terms or notations whenever necessary. I was aware that there might be linguistic nuances and cultural differences that could lead to misunderstandings, so I was particularly careful in my communication, aiming for clarity and mutual comprehension, even when it meant additional time and effort on my part. The tension between simple explanations and the complexity of my theories was always a challenge. I found that striking a balance was key. When engaging with a general audience, I aimed to simplify complex concepts, often using analogies and metaphors to explain the essential principles. However, in my scientific work, I embraced the complexity and precision needed to fully develop and articulate my theories. It was crucial to communicate the nuances and specifics to other physicists who are already familiar with the relevant scientific language. It's about finding the right level of abstraction for the intended audience. Yes, I was certainly aware of the historical roots of scientific terms like energy and entropy. These words have ancient origins, and their meanings and connotations have evolved over time. I understood the importance of accurately portraying the development and usage of these words, both in terms of their scientific meaning and their linguistic context. When writing about these topics, I took care to include a brief history, discussing the origins of these concepts and their evolution through language. A purely symbolic or nonverbal system might offer a more precise and unambiguous way to convey quantum ideas compared to natural language. A symbolic system could avoid the linguistic ambiguities and limitations of natural language, allowing for more exact definitions and relations to be expressed. Additionally, symbolism can be more easily interpreted and understood across languages and cultures, making it more universal than natural language. However, it is important to note that a purely symbolic system lacks the ability to directly convey the intuitive concepts associated with many physical phenomena, which can be easily expressed in natural language. I believed that logical reasoning and linguistic expression formed an essential interplay in science. Logical reasoning serves as the foundation for developing theories and making arguments in science. It provides the structure and rigor necessary for understanding and explaining natural phenomena. On the other hand, linguistic expression acts as a tool for articulating and communicating the logical conclusions derived from logical reasoning. Language can be used to express scientific concepts and theories more precisely, enabling sharing of knowledge and collaboration among scientists. When addressing non-scientists about my work, I always tried to simplify and use analogies to convey my theories in an understandable way. I would often use everyday examples or analogies to make the complex concepts more relatable and easy to understand. Additionally, I would use simple and concise sentences to help the non-scientific audience follow the explanations. I would also focus on explaining the practical implications of my work, so that the non-scientific audience would appreciate the relevance of my research. Yes, linguistic misunderstandings did sometimes create confusion and debate within the physics community. Due to the international nature of the scientific community during my time, language barriers often led to miscommunication between scientists. For example, different terms or definitions in different languages could lead to confusion and disagreements. Additionally, the nuances of language could lead to different interpretations of scientific concepts, especially in the rapidly evolving field of quantum mechanics. These misunderstandings often required careful clarification and communication to resolve. I believe the cadence and sound of the German language did have an influence on my thought process in theorizing. The rhythmic and precise nature of the German language probably shaped the way I formulated my ideas and arguments. The structure and flow of the language may have provided a framework for organizing and structuring my thoughts, even influencing the logical progression of my theories. Additionally, the sound and cadence of the language may have played a role in creating a mental environment or atmosphere that was conducive to deep thinking and contemplation. Language to me was both an aid and an obstacle in my quest for scientific truth. It was an aid because it enabled me to communicate my ideas and discoveries to other scientists and the world. However, it was also an obstacle because the limitations and ambiguities of language made it difficult to precisely express the complex ideas and theories I was working on. The words and conventions of language often felt inadequate to fully capturing the depth and nuance of scientific concepts. Despite these challenges, I made it a priority to use language to the best of my ability in order to communicate my research effectively. A language tailored for physicists would likely differ significantly from everyday German in various ways. For instance, it would likely include a much more extensive and precise vocabulary, focusing on scientific terms and concepts that are not commonly used in everyday language. It would also likely have a more precise grammar and syntax to accurately represent the complex relationships between scientific concepts. Additionally, this language would likely incorporate more mathematical symbols and formulas to describe physical phenomena more accurately. Essentially, this language would be more specialized and technical, designed specifically for communicating and discussing physics. I do believe that there may be underlying order and patterns in the universe that could be interpreted as a kind of language. Perhaps one day physics will provide the means to decipher and understand this language, shedding light on the underlying nature of the universe and its functioning. While we may not be able to directly understand this language, our understanding of physics and the laws that govern the universe brings us closer to unraveling the secrets of its inherent order and structure. You have formulated well thought out and in-depth questions. They cover a wide range of topics, including the relationship between language, thought, and scientific discovery, the impact of mathematics versus language in communicating scientific concepts, the role of silence in reflections on the universe, and the potential future of scientific language. All of these are important and fascinating subjects, and I appreciate the careful preparation that has gone into formulating these questions for me.
Mics on the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No light, no flame, just the sound we crave. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Hidden in shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just the beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go. Pure and raw. Pure and raw. Silence break, raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Pure and raw. Play.